Hello everyone, Giltar here with a Kamen Rider action figure review for Rider Fest. This time we'll be looking at the Tamashii Webshop limited item exclusive, the SH Figuarts N-Daguva-Zeba action figure. Now this is a figure that was just recently released. It came out in late July of 2010 and it sells for 3,675 yen or roughly 40 American dollars. Now as a limited exclusive item, this particular SH Figuarts figure had to be purchased through Tamashii Webshop, I believe. Now, for people outside of Japan, most of us, including myself, had to go through a middleman type of service. I went through Yokata Web, who they specialize in buying things like these sort of limited exclusive items in Japan and then selling them to people outside of Japan. Now, I have a Kamen Rider Kuga Muddy form here for comparison's sake. I'll bring N-Daguva-Zeba on frame in a moment, but before I do that, I'm going to show you the packaging. The figure itself came in a fairly nondescript box, a cardboard box, which has SH Figuarts here at the top, some kanji, barcode, and other information. And within that box is the standard SH Figuarts designed package. And here we have N-Daguva-Zeba in English. Photo. I don't know if this is a photo of the costume design. I have to say right now that because I really have no experience with the Kuga TV series, I actually don't know if N-Daguva-Zeba ever actually appeared on the television show. When I first saw this exclusive item posted at Nikyong's blog, I did a web search for images of the character. I could only find images of the figure or images of previous statues or figures of N-Daguva-Zeba, so I don't know if it actually showed up on the TV show. Here's some photography of the figure itself. And then here we have the figure in the plastic casing. So it's pretty much standard SH Figuarts design with respect to how it's packaged. Very nicely done. As I usually say, I really do like and appreciate how Bandai has chosen to present these products. Now, one thing I've noticed immediately when I actually first received this item here and took it out of the parcel is that it's actually quite a hefty figure. And I don't know if you guys can see it right away here, but in the packaging, N-Daguva-Zeba is actually quite a bit taller than Kuga here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this figure off camera for a moment while I take off the covering plastic, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the figure. Pretty straightforward. The figure itself is in the center. It's got these alternate hands that you can attach in various poses. So this is a fist, clenched fist, sort of punching fist hand. There's two splayed open finger hands, and then another two splayed open finger hands that sort of have more of a sort of a clutching, sort of menacing type of pose. Here's the figure itself, which is quite large. Some plastic wrap for the sort of cape like part of the costume. What's this? Okay, just some more plastic behind the hair. And yeah, the figure itself, when I'm picking it up, it's quite hefty, which is quite surprising because even though it is a larger than average SH Figuarts figure, it still feels heavier than I would have first thought. Simply by, at a glance, looking at this figure, I wouldn't think that it would be something of this weight. So let's just do a side-by-side comparison between these two figures. As you can see, N-Daguva-Zeba is actually about a head taller than Kuga here. And I guess that's quite fitting. As I understand it, N-Daguva-Zeba is like the sort of, I don't know, like the main bad guy of Kuga. Again, I don't know if he appears on the show, but he's kind of like, I think, the head of the Grongi. So I do apologize just because I don't know much about the show itself, but it's a very nice looking design. I really like how for the majority of the body or the costume it's composed of this ivory or bone like material, and it's not completely white actually. There's some weathering done to make it look something different than just simply a stark blank white uniform. So it actually adds depth to the figure. We have some gold accoutrements all around, like this sort of pseudo skirt-like structure, shoulder plates, bracelets, anklets, knee guards, and this sort of, again, this cape-like structure here, which is it's a softer plastic, so I think it's probably PVC. The same goes for the skirt armor here. It's a softer plastic, so that's probably PVC as well. Now, as far as I can tell, it's pretty much the same design as any other SH Figuarts Kamen Rider figure. Double jointed knees, ball jointed ankles, hinged portions of the foot. Something to note here is actually the feet are plastic, probably ABS plastic, whereas most SH Figuarts Kamen Rider figures have metal feet, die-cast metal feet. I do find it surprising that N-Daguva-Zeba here has plastic feet, but I think the main reason is because if they had to cast this in metal and then use paint to match the color to the rest of the sort of interesting ivory white color of the plastics used in the rest of the body, it would have been a little too difficult. And even though it doesn't have metal feet, Zeba here has again just this really surprising heft to it. There must be quite a bit of metal content within the limbs here, especially in the legs, I'd say. The arms, they don't seem that heavy, but definitely, like, just the way the figure feels, yeah, it's probably got a lot of metal in the lower portion of the body. Again, going with joints, ball jointed hips, I'd say, with some rotational ability. Double jointed hinged elbows for a bend like that. Standard double ball joint wrists, ball joint neck, ball joint mid torso joint. And I think the waist is also ball jointed as well. So you have multiple points of articulation. The shoulder armor pieces are hinged, so they are separate from the shoulders. Actually, I like the detail here of the shoulder itself. Usually with the SH Figuarts figures, if anything, anytime you see shoulder armor that covers like the shoulder or deltoid of a figure, usually the deltoid section is pretty blank and really non-sculpted. It's just a piece of plastic. In this case, N-Daguva-Zeba's shoulder is actually molded. And something else I notice here is that I'm looking all around on the figure, and I don't notice any of the sort of common manufacturing sort of flaws that we see in some other SH Figuarts figures, such as visible nub marks or seam lines where the molding of the parts have been done. I don't see anything like that. So this is definitely a product in the line that has seen a higher level of care, I'd say, in the production, in the manufacturing of it. I really do like the design of the head sculpt as well. It's kind of funny, but, like, you know, this sort of stark white sort of coloring, the color scheme of the character design. Usually you would associate it with, you know, good characters, but just how it looks like a bone white sort of, I guess, color choice makes it look more menacing, combined with the sort of skull-like face, the taloned fingertips, the clawed fingertips, these blades on the forearms and sides of the calves, and just the way the feet are more like bestial or animal-like feet, with the sort of clawed toes here. All gives it a sort of menacing presence. I also, the way that the design is made up as well, it sort of, at least to me, gives an impression of like an Aztec emperor. Just the way that we have this, the use of gold in the costume design, how we have sort of like bared feet and these anklets, the skirt, and the sort of cape-like structure. To me, just at a glance, it reminds me of something that would be, you know, inspired by Aztec design. So yeah, it sort of comes off to me as like sort of like an Aztec emperor. And again, combined with all the menacing features, it's just a very nice looking design, and the figure itself is just great. Now, unfortunately, my camera isn't, you know, a very good quality camera, and you won't be able to pick up all these details. But even the gold parts, they're not plain gold. There's actually some paint application done so that there's darker areas and lighter areas, so you see a gradation of color from dark to light. And even like the small details, like at the top of the hands here, there's some gold pieces. It's just remarkable, and yeah, it's just a really impressive figure. No problems with balance and posing. I'm not really, you know, testing the posing ability of this figure very much right now, because you know what, the thing is that you guys are seeing this figure and this review at the same time that I'm sort of discovering and exploring what this figure offers. Again, this is literally my first time seeing this figure out of the box. It's an unboxing, and I'm doing this all in one shot. So I do apologize if I'm not as thorough as I usually try to be in my reviews, but I'm just sort of playing around with the figure and just trying it out. But yeah, I really do like this. So let's just put Kuga beside it. Let's have him. Kind of looks like he's got jazz hands, which is kind of funny. Let's make him look more menacing. Let's just pose him differently like that. And definitely he looks like a suitable foe for a hero of Kamen Rider. So I guess I'll move on to the pros and cons of this figure. And again, keep in mind, this is my pros and cons from my initial sort of reaction upon seeing and sort of trying out this figure. First of all, the large size, the physical presence, the stature is quite impressive. It is very similar to, really, to be honest, more like an SIC figure. For example, I've got Ixa here, SIC Ixa, and even though Ixa is taller, definitely, N-Daguva-Zeba isn't that much more, small than Ixa. It's quite remarkable that we have such a large SIC, SH Figuarts figure rather. So yeah, the number one pro about this, just a large size. Again, there's a surprising heft to it. It feels very dense and heavy. I guess it would be sort of a sign of reassurance for some people. It doesn't feel like a toy. It feels like a very sort of durable, tough, strong, action figure that can withstand some wear and tear from posing it and manipulating it and just playing around with it. I think that people wouldn't feel any sort of nervousness or worry about it breaking or wearing down. It feels like a very tough product. Secondly, just a really superb design and sculpt. It looks great, and just the level of detail, the aesthetics of it, the color scheme, the palette used, just all these different touches makes it a very nice looking figure for, I would say, anybody's display, whether you have a Kamen Rider collection or not. And, oh, that's my telephone. I'm just going to ignore it because I don't want to sort of ruin this first take of mine. Okay, great, somebody picked it up in the house here. Yeah, just the paint application, the sculpt, the fact that I can't find any, again, the sort of typical manufacturing flaws that I would find in other figures like Kuga here, which is a regular mainline release SH Figuarts figure. This has seam lines, this has nub marks that are visible. N-Daguva-Zeba here, or N-Daguva-Zeba, doesn't show anything like that. I don't see any seam lines, I don't see any nub marks. And again, to me, that's just quite impressive, and it does speak of a higher level of quality because, again, this is a limited exclusive item. This is not something you would buy at a regular store. You actually have to order it through Tamashii Webshop's website. So, yeah, I think all things considered, you really do get your money's worth for it. Now, moving on to the cons, speaking of money's worth, again, this is a 3,675 yen product. It's again basically $40 American. It's very expensive. I mean, SH Figuarts figures are normally quite expensive. This being an exclusive limited item makes it even more expensive. It raises the price tag because of just the exclusivity and just the fact that I think it has gone through a more careful manufacturing process. Now that being said, even though I do list that as a con, consider that more recent SH Figuarts releases like Exceed Gales, for example, is about 3,300 yen. It's only 300-400 yen cheaper than N-Daguva-Zeba here, and this is a limited item, and yet it's only about 400 yen more expensive, about $5-6 more expensive than a normal figure. So even though I do list the high price as a con, I would say it's well worth it. So overall, I do recommend this. Now, unfortunately, because it's not a normal release item, you had to pre-order it through a middleman service. I pre-ordered mine through Yukata Web, and it's a great service. I'm very happy with dealing with them. But the thing about this is that now that it is out, most places will not be selling this anymore through their middleman service. So you could probably have to look in the aftermarket where things will be extremely, inflated in terms of price. So if you look on eBay, I imagine people have tried to sell this for, $100 or something. So yeah, it will be tough to find it, but if you can find it for a decent price, like, say $40 or so, like the normal pricing for this item, go for it because it's just well worth the money. So Again, this is my review of the SH Figuarts N-Daguva-Zeba figure. I hope you guys enjoyed it and got something out of it. As usual, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next video.